Miss Emma, what's the Lord saying to you?
Hi, Cindy and Mike. What a joy to be with you. It's like a happy family reunion. And I just love you guys and love the British Isles prophets that I'm on with Mama Sharon, who has been the champion cheering the way, you know, and we stand on her shoulders. And we are still in the most extreme lockdown here in Scotland. England has slightly lifted it, but can we just have a moment of Jesus, please open the hairdressers? Because, you know, honestly, we've not had a hairdresser open since March, and it looks like it'll not be till July in Scotland, and my hair will be growing out the top of the screen if this goes on for very much longer. So, you know, yeah, first world problems. Okay, so let's just jump straight in. I feel like we are about to have this Pentecost in just a few short handful of days that we need to be prepped for. We need to know what is about to explode all over us. And I heard the Lord say that there were going to be two things that are key in this new wine, because of course, when we hit the marriage feast in Canaan, Jesus' first miracle, we see that that goes from old wine to no wine and then to new wine. You get old, none, and then new. And I think we've had the old and we've gone fed up with that. Then we've had this kind of hiatus of this lockdown where we felt completely all over the place, completely discombobulated because we had no wine, and now the new wine is about to burst. And so you're going to have to fasten your seatbelts because of what you guys who are watching is going to get in this new wine. And I heard two words, and the first word was power, P-O-W-E-R. I know in Irish it only has one syllable, but anyway, power. And I feel that the Lord is saying to me, we are going to be infused with the force and the glory of God, so that signs and wonders and miracles just trip off us with such glorious ease, that where we have seen miracles in the last, you know, handful of years, it's going to be like a muddy puddle in comparison to the ocean of God-given power-based solutions that come from heaven to you and through you. So you got to get ready for a new wine explosion of power. But then the other thing interested me, the second word I heard God say was yearning. There is yearning in the new wine. And that hunger, oh, I'm so hungry, I'm so desperate, I'm so thirsty for who you are. And if we feel like we've gone off the boil, if we feel like, I think Dr. Sharon is spot on it, we've been complacent. The word I had was Laodicean from Revelation 3. We've been that yuck, tepid, kind of lukewarm, but we are going to get this pioneering surge of passionate yearning for God and yearning for his courts again. And I think we see in epochs of time, Cindy, different Bible verses kind of hold different generations. So in the days of Billy Graham, you know, everybody in the world could quote you John 3:16. You know, there was that momentum behind, you know, for God so loved the world that he gave his one and only son. I think then we went probably in the last 7 years into Isaiah, the 7 to 10 years, you know, arise, shine, your light has come. The whole world was understanding that there was a 7 mountain mandate and you had to get on and do something. But I feel like the verse for the next epoch of time is right out of Psalm 84. My soul yearns, even faints for the courts of the Lord, and my heart, my flesh cry out. And what fascinates me, Cindy, in that verse is that it's not just I yearn for God, although that is very much in it, but it's I yearn for his courts. I'm hungry for his people. I'm desperate to be where his church is. And this passion for church, this, and of course, all of us, we love the church, but sometimes we don't like her. I mean, let's be honest. There are some days she annoys us, but in our hearts, we still love her. You know, maybe that's just me. Maybe you're more holy, you lot, than I am. But there is this sense that we're going to get this passion for the courts of God, and we're going to be waking up and going, oh, I want to be with the people of God again, and God himself. So it's going to totally change the dynamic of church, because I feel like God is rewarding those in this coming season who prioritize relationship over administration. I think that is the word of the Lord, that we prioritize structure, and we want good structure, but we prioritize administration over relationship, and that is also coming in this new wine. And then I heard the Lord say this: the bending has begun. Now let me unpack that, because do you remember Evan Roberts, the great Welsh revivalist in the British Isles, prays, "Bend me, Christ." Now of course he's talking and it makes me want to immediately fall to my knees. I don't know about you, but you know, when you hear "Bend me, Christ," there's a physical bending, you know, bending my knees, but there is that yielded surrender, submission position. And the Lord says the bending has begun. And he said, look to the east. And I looked, and there was China, and there was the Far East, and there was Asia, and there was this mass move of the bending of the knees to Jesus. And physically and spiritually and emotionally, whole nations were starting to yield to the lordship of Christ. The bending has begun. And then I saw the trees bend, and the mountains bend, and the plants bend, and I saw creation being healed as creation worked with the people in this bending and this yieldedness that Jesus is Lord. The cry of Jesus is Lord was rising in the nations. And then I got totally shocked, Cindy, because we hit the border of Europe in the vision, you know, right where Turkey and Greece would be on the map. And that speed of the bending suddenly started to slow down. I thought, oh no, God, what is going on? Why is Europe not bending at the speed and the rate of Asia? And I heard the Lord just start to talk to me about the roots of Europe. I actually think this probably applies to the whole of the Western world, but let me anchor it into Europe, and you can see whether the medicine is right for America too. But we have here in Europe the roots of enlightenment in the 17th century. We have a whole continent built on, isn't science wonderful? And academia is really important, and education and information are almost gods to us. And yes, we love scientists and we love medicine. I mean, absolutely we do. We love to be well-informed human beings, but not where they are our idols over Jesus. And I heard the Lord say, you are going to have to say, Jesus is above medicine. Jesus is above science. Jesus is above universities. Jesus is above information. Jesus is above. And whenever we start to say as a continent here, Jesus first, Jesus is above, then I saw the ability for that bending move of God to rush across the Western nations, that we have got, I mean, we have blind spots, and by virtue of the fact that they're blind spots, we don't see them. So, you know, but the blind spot in Europe being revealed by Jesus of our idolization of scientists and medical advice above what Christ would say to us. And so we got to get the balance. We got to love where God blesses a scientist, but not higher than Christ. And just one comment, I don't know what my time is like. You can wave at me if I'm near the moment, because you get so excited, don't you? I get so excited. But I do think we are going to see cycles of crisis, Cindy, as our normal. And I think the Lord has spoken to me about a health crisis. Clearly, we're in that now, that gives way to an economic crisis. Well, we kind of can see that, can't we? That gives way to a social crisis, that gives way to a political crisis. And so crisis will become something that we get used to navigating. And really, it is not business as usual. But the Lord is saying in all of this, that as the crisis become something that is the pattern of the globe, and it's global, that we've got to keep one eye on the fact that with any crisis or shaking, there is the capacity in the saints of God to hold and steward greater glory. And that in all of this, rather than the panic filling us and us just mirroring the world, the prayer is, God, fill me with your glory, because I know in the shaking, you've increased my capacity to hold more of you. And that must be the cry of the church, to steward a weight of God as crises successively roll out. Back to you, Cindy.
Thank you so much. And Mike, did you have something you'd like to share?
Well, I was just, even from the outset, when Sharon was sharing about the rowboat type prophecies that we're seeing, the Lord reminded me of the need for pilots. You know, you think, if I say pilot, you think aviation typically, but actually pilot is a nautical term. And, you know, even today, when a large ship is going to be moved into a port, they will send a pilot who totally understands that geographic area of the port system to guide even the captain of a very large vessel. You know, a very stately captain needs a pilot. And really, you know, even in the United States, you know, you may be familiar with the Mississippi River and the riverboat captains they had there. There were pilots who had a specialty in each section of the Mississippi River because it changed so rapidly. So I really believe that it's a good analogy, in the sense that when Pentecost came, the Lord said, I'm going to give you a pilot to come aboard, and he's going to guide you in everything that you need to do in this coming time. Because basically you could say this: you have not walked this way before. We're moving into a season of Pentecost of Pentecost. Quite frankly, the prophets are saying, you've not walked this way before. As Sharon said, you can't discern the future by just looking at the past. You've got to be able to have a pilot who can guide you to where you need to go, because if you don't, you may run aground. And no one wants to be like in the Bible, in the New Testament, where they talk about someone who got shipwrecked. So this is an exciting time for everyone who's watching. You know, this is a time to learn to listen to the pilot. You know, you've received the pilot, but sometimes you don't let him on the bridge so he can guide you, you know? So be sensitive in this season to know that God is desiring to take us to a new place. It's a place you haven't been before, and you need the pilot to guide you.
Oh, that's a really good word.